Hey, so I'm Heather. I do community development for Florio, and joining me is Rita. She's our director of therapy content, and she's also a speech language pathologist. And we're going to take you through a couple of things that you'll need to use Florio, and we'll also show you a couple of our different lessons. So just to start off with, you'll be using a mobile VR headset. The headset actually opens up like that, and an iPhone goes inside of it. And the iPhone and the headset together make up the learner's immersive experience. If you've ever used VR before, then you know that you have no idea what someone is looking at when they're looking through a VR headset. But we've solved that problem by streaming the lesson in real time directly to the coach's device, which is an iPad. So the coach can see exactly what the learner is looking at any given time. The coach also plays a role in guiding and facilitating the lesson, so the learner gets some live feedback while they're experiencing the immersive lesson. And the coach can be an educator, it can be a paraprofessional, it can be a volunteer, sometimes it can even be a peer who is acting as the coach, especially if you have a peer modeling group. Rita, if you want to chime in with anything there, then feel free to. Otherwise, I'll start to screen share.
And screen share sounds good.
So we have three different types of lessons right now. We have our building social connections lessons. We have our managing real life interactions lessons. Those are our teaching stories. And then we have a set of lessons that are designed to help practice some emotional regulation skills. So we'll take a look at our eye contact safari lessons. I'm going to click into that lesson called Emma is Pointing, but just a quick recap of what these lessons are. These are designed to practice some different joint attention skills. So we're practicing things like finding a particular animal that made a particular sound, tracking something as it moves across the screen, looking in the direction that someone's pointing to find something there, getting someone's attention while they're busy. Clicking into Emma is Pointing now. On the screen here is the iPad view. So this is what the coach would be looking at any given time. And as the learner moves their head around, or in my case, as I move the phone around, because I am both the coach and the learner right now, you can see there's a 360-degree view. And those two bright green lines that are kind of framing Emma here at the moment are everything that's visible on, everything between the green lines is what's visible on the headset at any given time. We give some extra information on the iPad for the coach to help them better be able to guide the lesson for the learner. That blue banner in the center of the screen is also only on the iPad, only for the coach. And we use that blue banner as a way to communicate with the coach. We give the coach some suggested dialogue that they can use to help set up the lesson so the learner knows what to expect. Down there at the bottom in that gray section is going to be the coach's dashboard, and there will be some different buttons that pop up for the coach to use to move the lesson forward. So I'll start the lesson here. And this lesson, Emma is pointing, to ask the learner to look to find a particular animal that Emma's going to point to. On the iPad, the coach selects the animal, so I'll choose the giraffe. And you can see that right now our learner, whose name is Henry, is looking down at Emma's feet. And Emma knows that. She's saying hey to get his attention. We suggest that the coach could say, Henry, look at Emma. When he does look at Emma, that's when she begins to point. And then when the learner looks over at that animal, we get a little happy dance from that animal. We get some reward stars to let us know that we did a good job before we can move on to finding one of the other animals in the scene. Rita, feel free to chime in if I'm leaving anything out that you'd like to add. Also, in our building social connections, we have our imitation lessons, which are ABA inspired. And in these lessons, the avatar performs an action or says a word, and the learner is asked to copy that action or repeat that word. There are different levels, so it starts off a little bit more simply before building up from there. Our gestures lessons are designed to practice some gestural communication. And our teaching stories are designed to practice some different scenarios and interactions that take place in different environments. We have our social sense in the hallway, which is practicing responding to different types of greetings, our friendly, unfriendly, and neutral greetings. And we also have our small talk in the hallway, which kind of takes things a step further. And instead of just an initial greeting from the avatar shares a statement with the learner. So for example, down here where it says shares their concern, the avatar shares something that's of concern to the avatar, and the learner is expected to respond to that concern with sympathy or empathy. We also have a number of school-based lessons, including those that take place in the cafeteria and in the classroom. In the cafeteria, we're practicing things like finding a welcoming group to sit with, joining a conversation that's already in progress, introducing peers to one another, amongst other things. In the classroom, we're doing things like settling down when the teacher's ready to start class, raising our hand and waiting to be called on, tolerating some rule breaking. Sometimes the avatars call out without being called on. And there are a number of other lessons in there as well. Our banter versus bullying lessons are designed to practice recognizing, responding to, and diffusing different types of banter and bullying situations. And these run the gamut from some teasing all the way up to the threat of physical violence. And because you would respond to those different types of bullying in different ways, there are different levels in between there as well. Our travel series are lessons that are designed to practice some different travel scenarios. Air Travel Adventures takes the learner through the TSA line at the airport. And our street crossing lessons are designed to practice a routine to safely cross the street. There are different types of distractions in the set of lessons, and also different types of intersections and different interactions with the drivers of the cars as well. Our police encounters lessons are the lessons that we've been developing with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the Center for Autism Research, as part of our NIH grant. And we have two different types of these lessons. In level 1 and level 2, there are 19 different lessons that are designed to practice responding to a greeting from a police officer, and then a series of questions that are posed by the police officer. And within these 19 lessons, there are different types of distractions, and I'm going to click into the first in the series. This one does not have a lot of distractions here. The types of distractions that we do add are things like more background noise. Sometimes there are cars driving by on the street here, or pedestrians that are walking by. There might be a police car down the street with its lights on. Sometimes it's nighttime. Occasionally there is a person that sits over here on the bench, which can add another level of anxiety for the learner because they feel like they're being watched. But in any case, in this set of lessons, we give the coach the tools to puppeteer the police officer, because the goal is for the learner to role play as if this was a real life scenario. So I'll start the lesson here.
Hey there.
And we're greeted by the police officer. He said, hey there. And so if the learner doesn't respond or says something that's hard to understand, the coach could use one of those orange prompts in the center of the screen there. But hopefully our learner here said hi or hey, or his favorite way of saying hi.
Can I talk to you a sec?
We have some questions like this one, which can be difficult to answer for some of our more literal learners, because the police officer has already greeted us. He's already said hi to us. Why is he now asking, can I talk to you for a sec? So that can be a question that can be difficult to answer, which is why it's important to practice.
What are you up to here?
Again, this is another question that can be difficult to answer because the answer to this question is always going to be something different depending on what you happen to be doing when the police officer stops to talk to you.
So what's your name?
And then we have questions like this one and the next one.
And where do you live?
And the learner might know that his name is Henry and he lives at 123 Main Street, but he might not know the proper context in which to provide that information. So being able to role play and answer those questions, especially these self-identifying questions, is something that's really invaluable for a lot of our learners.
Okay then, thank you for your cooperation. You're free to go.
So in the first 19 in level 1 and level 2, these are all positive interactions with the police officers. You're always free to go there at the end. The multi-lesson, the third in the series, is a little bit different. It's the only set of lessons in our library that are customizable. The coach can choose from a list of targeted behaviors to practice. The coach can also change up the difficulty level. It can be easy, medium, or hard. And the coach can also decide if the police officer is seeing the learner as an adult or as perceived as a minor. Because a police officer would ask different questions of someone that they thought was an adult as opposed to someone that they thought was a child or a minor. And the multi-lesson is a little bit different too, because the police officers are a little bit more true to life. They'll start to talk in an increasingly firm tone of voice and be a little bit more stern if the learner is not replying to their questions in a way that they might expect. Our special event series are designed around different holidays and different seasons. And our emotional regulation lessons are broken up into two categories. We have our sensory spaces, which are designed to be kind of a mobile sensory room. So if the learner was going into a potentially stressful situation or they just needed a safe place to calm down, they could use these spaces as those safe places to calm down and relax. And our mindfulness lessons are designed to practice some different mindfulness techniques. We have our breathing train, where we walk the coach and the learner through a series of steps to practice some deep breathing skills. And our crystal cave is similar, but instead of just focusing on our deep breathing skills, we ask the learner to relax different parts of their body, their shoulders, their hands, and their feet. And as a reward for completing each of those relaxation stations, the learner gets to travel down the waterway in the cave and collect crystals in their boat, while also getting to look at some really cool scenes along the way, like a cool waterfall, amongst other things in the cave. So that is sort of a very basic overview of the lessons in our catalog. Rita, chime in with anything else that you think would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that it was that is, as Heather said, she's awesome at being able to present our content. We do put out content, new content, about once a month, which is which has been since very early on, customer driven. And we really are trying to cast a wide net in terms of developing content for individuals of all ages and all language levels. And we've seen that it, a lot of times, sometimes the cartoon images will even appeal to older individuals, and the more realistic police interaction scenes is appealing to some of our younger individuals, not who it was designed for, but it does seem to be something that they respond to.